We are joined today by Dr. Abdulie Sanneh, who is currently the Community Cohesion and Diversity Officer at Southampton City Council. Abdulie is also the chair of the United Voice of African Associations in Southampton, and it is a privilege, Abdulie, having you here today.
Thank you very much. Yeah, glad I'm here today.
Abdulie, tell us, where were you born and where did you grow up?
Yes, I was born in Gambia, West Africa, a small village called Alkalikunda, and my parents moved a lot from Alkalikunda to Jambanjeli to Sanchaba Job, and that's where I grew up as a youngster. I grew up in Gambia with my family, my mom, my dad, and my parents had 14 children, but 8 survived. So I was, I think the 4th actually. I can always get it wrong. Yeah, 4 boys, 4 girls.
Well, big family.
Yeah, big family, yes, definitely.
And so you described being born in one place, and I'm going to have to try to pronounce that place. It's good, it's nice, but
yes,
maybe in one session I wouldn't be able to. But you moved from the, is it like villages you moved to?
Yes.
Different?
Yes.
And what's the distance with moving around?
One village. Gambia is a small country, very tiny country.
Right.
So where I was born was Alikali Kunda, and there my parents moved when I was at the age of 7 to Jambanjeli.
Okay.
And it's Jambanjeli where I did my complete my primary school.
Oh, I see. Right.
And then went to high school. By the time I got to high school, year 1 in high school, my parents moved from Jambanjeli.
Oh, so they moved again?
Yeah, they moved again
to
one of the biggest, we call it town in the Gambia, just the edge of the town called Sanchaba Job. And that's where I grew up, completed my college and things like that, yeah.
Big town, like a city? Or?
Well, because Gambia is small, the population is 2 million people.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, Sanchaba Job is connected to the biggest town in Gambia. Just about the outside, they're all connected, but just the outside of the town. But the ones that I talked about earlier on, Alkalikunda and Jambanjeli, were small towns, actually villages. Alkalikunda was a village, very small village, and Jambanjeli is bigger than Alkalikunda, and Sanchaba Job is bigger than, so they were moving from smaller to the bigger towns.
Interesting. And what is the capital of the Gambia?
The capital of Gambia is called Banjul. The name Banjul has been given to us by the British. It was Batos, so they decided to change it. It was difficult for them to say Batos, so they changed it to Banjul, so it became Banjul.
Oh, I see. And how far were you from the capital where you grew up?
It's about 15 minutes drive. It's 10 to 15 minutes drive.
Oh, so not far,
It's not far at all. And in fact, the interesting bit is, where I grew up is bigger than the capital itself, because the capital is an island.
Wow.
The capital is surrounded by water, so there is no way that it can expand.
Right.
So people move from the capital to Serekunda. So that's why Serekunda is probably twice as big as the capital.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And growing up there, you grew up with your family. So because you moved, you grew up with your family. School life, how was that? Describe that.
Interestingly, where I was born, that village, there is a village chief, but also because Gambia is mainly a Muslim country.
Yes.
So majority of the people, 95% of the people are Muslims. So those days, the biggest Islamic scholar in the village does not allow people to go to Muslim English schools, because they believe that when you go to English schools, you'll be drinking alcohol and you will be a bad person in the community. So they restrict people from going to English schools. And so my dad was the first person who decided that, I'm going to send my son to English school. and that was that has some negative impact between my dad and some of the leaders in the village.
I see.
But because my dad was very useful in the village those days, the villagers used to have their rice farms outside the village, but there is a river between the rice farm and the village, so there has to be someone that will be able to transport ladies to cross the water to go to the other side. So my dad was doing that free of charge. In the morning, he will get up early in the morning, transport the ladies across to their rice farm, and in the evening when they finish, he has a small boat and transport the ladies back. So because of that, they respected him in the village, and also he used to do fishing. So because he has a boat, he does fishing. A lot of the villagers cannot afford to buy fish. So when he has his catches, he will come to the village and distribute to those who cannot afford the fish, to buy the fish and sell it to those who can afford. So because of all that, a lot of people respected him, but he still felt very uncomfortable. And then that was one of the reasons why he decided to move from that village to Jambanjeli, so that I would be able to continue my schooling, and other children that he has will also be able to go to school. I remember those early days when we were in Gambia. I used to play with my friends during the day, and we do go to the waterside, play with clay,
yes,
and sand. And I remember that I used to save my money, because there was a big bantaba. Bantaba means a big tree where the villagers sit. Normally they have a sort of a bench, big bench made of wood, and everybody will sit there. I used to save my money under that bantaba. I would dig the hole and put the pennies.
But literally, you would put your money there?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll put my money there. And if it is to certain amount of money, I'll take it out and I give it to my dad. I say, can you buy me shoes, or can you buy me a shirt? And because I used to do a lot of voluntary when I was little,
yes,
my dad would send me to those who cannot afford to buy fish. He will ask me to go and give them the fish free, privately, because he didn't want other people to know about it. So I was using that as well. So I learned a lot from there. Making small clays, making small games on the sand. The draft that we do here, I used to learn to play draft on the sand because we didn't have the draft this thing, but at least we have sand that we can have sticks and play draft and things like that. It was amazing childhood with my family, everybody together. It was absolutely amazing. We are not rich, we don't have much, but it was fantastic. And when we moved to Jambanjeli, I didn't stay there long. As I said, did my primary school and I moved on. But all throughout, childhood for me was an important part of my growing up. I remember grandparents used to tell stories at night, middle of the night, early part of the night. All the children will sit outside. Grandparents will sit around and they will tell stories. Some of those stories are very scary, but some of them are really entertaining.
Yes.
So it makes us sleep, and when we sleep, they will carry us to bed individually, one by one.
Yes.
I had a fascinating childhood, even though the plate that during those days it was not wealthy, but we are able to have rice that is homegrown rice that we eat the whole year. We don't buy rice from shops.
Yes.
My family used to have grow rice. Everybody in those villages used to grow rice, and they are fresh rice. If you bring a rice that is from the shop, they said it smells because it's not fresh, so they wouldn't eat it. So they all eat organic rice. But now we don't have that in Gambia at all.
So it's changed a lot.
It's changed a lot.
Well, tell me a little bit about, you said a little bit of what your father did.
Yeah.
Just expand a little bit more about that. And did your mom work as well? What did they do?
Yeah. My mom and my dad were not educated. They've not been to school.
Mm-hmm.
And they've never had bank account in their entire life. Yeah, which is strange and interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom was the quietest person I have ever come across in my entire life. she will sit here the whole day with you. She will not utter a word if you don't tell her anything. She's very quiet. She will just smile. You'll do things and she will smile. But she was also very hardworking because she likes rice that's homegrown.
Right.
She doesn't like to buy things from the shop. She wanted to make sure that and my dad is very supportive. My dad and my mom will do farming, peanut, rice. Those are the main crops. And my dad also liked maize and beans and cassava. He will grow all those things. So we don't buy things. We always take things from our farms, eat them. So my mom was like that. Very, very quiet. Very, very nice person. And because of that, a lot of people, a lot of grandchildren joke with her. They keep on saying, your mom doesn't even know how to talk. And but she was amazing, absolutely amazing. So my dad and my mom, as I said, they were not educated. They mainly do farming, and my dad do fishing on top of that. So I was the first person in our family to be sent to school. My brothers and my sisters before me, there wasn't any opportunity because that time those villages there wasn't any school.
Right.
So during my time is when they started having schools there. So, but my dad is the funniest person you can ever come across. He will people will come to our house continuously in a day as long as he's at home because they just want to sit around him.
Yes.
Yeah, because he will crack them up all the time, and my mom will be sitting next because they are very close. My mom will be sitting next to my dad and she will just be smiling, not talking the whole day. So they were really, really close. And my brothers, one of my brother was really interested in second-hand clothing since I was a kid. Initially he did second-hand clothing and then sell some fish and then went back to second-hand clothing. My sisters all got married to different places. So in terms of family, I have a very, very stable family, very, very connected, very close family.
And it sounds like some exciting times.
It was amazing because I remembered, when we are kids, it's all about, all working together.
Yes.
Getting up together, go to the farm, do things, and come back together. I remember when I was little, my dad used to carry me on his neck, get into the water, and teach me how to do the boat, how to row the boat in the water, do some fishing with him. It was incredible. I was telling people that, even though I believe that probably I came from one of the poorest families, I think it's one of the richest family at the same time, because I've got one of the richest childhood that I can ever imagine. With my mom, with my dad, with my brothers, our neighbors, everybody, as if, we are all families. I cannot do anything wrong in the village because everybody know me. They know my dad.
They know your father. They know your mother.
Exactly. Whatever I do, the next minute I call home, my dad says, "Okay, so you were at that place today." I said, "How did you know that?" Every single person knows.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's incredible, the connections between the family members. And the whole village look after you, bring you up, wherever you are, they all bring you up. They all treat you like they're kids. If you do wrong, you'll get the punishment that you deserve. If you do right, you'll get the praise that you deserve. Yeah. So it's always there. Whether your dad is there or your mom is there, it doesn't really matter. Someone else is there.
And maybe that's where that statement comes from. It takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah, that's it. That's the English one. Yes, definitely. It takes a village to raise a child. Yeah, because you have to call people auntie. You cannot call them by their names.
Absolutely.
The ones that you are older than you, they are always older than you. It's either mom, dad, auntie, uncle, all the time. And just like my kids get confused, and I tell them that this is your uncle or this is your dad, because for us, dad means your brother's brother. Can be your dad. You call him dad. You don't call him uncle. Your mom's brother, you call it uncle. Your dad's brother is your dad. Yeah. So when I tell my kids, "Oh, this is your dad," they say, "No, you are my dad. It's not my dad." I said, "What do you mean? How can he be my dad? He's my uncle." I said, "No, he's not. It's your dad. Yeah, so it's weird. It's very strange. Yeah, yeah. But my childhood was fantastic. Education wise, like I said, because my parents were not wealthy enough, so I had to do extremely well at school to be able to get scholarship, to be able to go from one state to another. I remembered when I went to Nusrat High School, which was a private school. I went there. Those days, it's only $40 for school fees. My dad was struggling. My mom was struggling to pay $40. $40 now is less than a pound.
Right.
It's less than a pound. Probably say 25p or something like that. They were struggling to pay that for every 3 months.
So that was the price of a term.
Yeah, term. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, a term. Yeah, it's every 3 months. So what they will do is they will get peanuts. They will get their peanuts.
Oh, yes.
And give it to me, a bag of peanuts. I say, okay, you go and sell this, and then you can pay for this. I remember when I have one uniform, that uniform takes me the whole year.
Yes.
Shoes and the uniform, it takes me the whole year. I make sure that that's well maintained. And I'll have a few books, and I share other books with my friends. And I used because I was not living with them. When I got to high school, I moved to my uncle's house.
Oh, I see.
Fortunately for me, my uncle has electricity. But when the electricity goes off, I go to the street lights. I study from the street lights. I was just determined to make sure that I was able to pass this thing. But I had a problem because when I get to the final stage where I needed to set my exams, it was increased to $100. That means double, like 50p.
Right.
And I couldn't get the money. And then the closing, I either have to get the money to pay that day, or I will not sit the exams, the final exam. So that means I'll drop off from school completely. So I called my brother. So I spoke to my brother in Banjul. So we went around. My brother went to my sister. My sister went around, the last hour of the day. I was the last person, I can still remember that, to pay my school fees. My exam fee,
Yeah.
to be able to sit my O-level exam. And that was really, really scary, because I could imagine if I drop out from school now, there will not be any support from my parents, because there won't be anyone who graduate from the family.
Right.
Yeah, so fortunately for me, I was the last person to register. They accepted my registration. I set my O-level, and it was the rest was history, because I did very well with my O-level, and then I went to college to study public health. And with that, it's free studies for me, public health.
Right.
So until I finished my public health program, and then I was later employed as a public health officer. So I started earning. I remember when I was doing my public health, they used to give us stipend.
Yes.
College used to give us stipend. So part of that stipend, I'll divide into two, and I give half to my parents to buy rice, to get stuff, because that time they stopped growing rice because Gambia has changed a lot.
Okay.
So they had to buy rice from the shop. So I gave them half of my money to buy rice, and the other half I will use that one for the things that I need to eat and stuff like that. So and I get employment, public health, which was fantastic as well.
Were you living home when you were working as well, or you lived away?
I wasn't living home, because that time, by the time I finished my college, my parents were already close to the city, close to the big town that I was telling you about.
Mm-hmm.
So, but because I was living with my uncle. When I was going to college, I was with my uncle.
Right.
So when I finished college, I moved out from my uncle's house, and because I want to have independence. I don't want to be dependent on other people. I am now earning salary. So I moved out my uncle's house. They were not far from me. Every weekend, I will go jogging, run.
Yes.
I'll go and see them, and I'll go to the beach, run, and then come back past them. Every time, almost every weekend, I will do that. So they see me all the time.
Yes,
so they are really pleased that they are not far from me. So public health was really helpful for me. I made lots of friends, and it was a career path that I took. That gave me scholarships to study in Ireland, and then came back to Gambia, and then another scholarship from Gambia to come to Southampton. All. So for me personally, I was lucky that every study up to my PhD is all a scholarship because my parents cannot afford it. It's not possible.
It sounds fantastic. It sounds like a rich experience.
Yeah.
So tell me, when did you decide to leave, and when did you leave the Gambia, and why?
Well, I left Gambia because of education. In fact, what happened was when I graduated from School of Public that I was telling you about,
Yes.
I worked in Banjul, the capital.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens there is they look at people, they said, okay, the skill set that you have, we want to move you to this particular health facility or this particular region. So I was moved to Kaur. That's where I got my wife. I was moved to Kaur. And because in Kaur, there were a bit of a division, there are two areas that like postmodern Southampton in terms of football.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So they wanted someone who has a skill set that is very that matches with that in terms of public health, to bring people together, to unite them, and to be able to do things together. So I was moved to Kaur. So when I was moved to Kaur, I was there for 4 years. Okay, those 4 years, one of my biggest responsibility, well, public health is about prevention of diseases and control. Then that means I was responsible for all the vaccinations and all stuff that is going on, and also promotion of health and well-being.
Yes.
Maternal and child health, that is mothers and children's health, in clinics running those things. And because those communities don't mix that much together, so I had to come with different strategies of doing things. Well, I started with sports.
Okay.
I decided that I was going to set up a football team that has both those communities together in a football team that would challenge other groups, other communities. And that was my first starting in terms of public health, that really challenge. Because the reason why I'm saying this, because we are coming back to community cohesion and diversity. So that was my first very initial challenge. So I was successful in that. I have got women groups that work with women from those different groups coming together and do inspections together. And also I ended up having a football team that composed of these two communities coming together and challenging and winning cups on my name. Like I was the captain and I was also the manager there. And that was the time I worked with my wife's dad, who was a village health worker at the time.
Okay.
And then he sees me, he was so excited about me. He says, I got my daughter at this school. Would you like to marry? I said, no, I don't marry like that. I said, I don't marry like that. How? He says, I will marry to a very beautiful lady. He said, my daughter is so beautiful. I said, okay. But that time the daughter was the head girl at one of the boarding schools.
Okay.
So on their graduation, I went there with him
Right.
to see to graduation and stuff like that. And then when I got there, I saw the daughter. I said, oh, God, this girl is beautiful. And because she was the boss there also, she was the head girl.
Yeah.
Well-dressed. People respect all the head mistresses. Everybody respected her. I said, oh, this is cool. Yeah. So I was in Kaur for 4 years before I moved to my next challenge. My next challenge was I was moved to another place which is even more difficult than Kaur,
Right.
because they've got an ethnic group called Sarahules. So they've got class system. The royals and the lower ones, they don't mix. Even their graves are separated.
Oh, I see.
They don't play together. They don't meet. So that was my next challenge. So I went there, which was fantastic. Which was one of my best results in terms of bringing communities together. Because what I did there, I have never done it anywhere, and I don't think I'll be able to do it anywhere. Because the communities the other community is very religious, Islam, and the other one is not that religious,
Right.
but they don't mix that much. So that one also, football was one of them. But the other thing that I did that has never happened in that village was music, because they don't allow music in that town. Music bands don't play in that town at all.
See.
That was the first time ever I was able to go through the bridges with different leaders and bring in the bands and play in that village, bringing all communities together for the first time. And that was also the last time. They would not let any band come to that village anymore. But at least it brings a bit of unity among them. And the the football team that I set up there also was able to play in different places.
And you were doing that primarily for the health strategy.
Yeah, public
Yes,
health.
yes.
Yeah, public health, because I wanted to make sure, because public health is, you have to have community resilience. If you don't have the communities coming together, you will not be successful.
Absolutely,
It's not possible.
Absolutely.
The old and the new communities, or different versions of the communities, have to come together to be successful. Yeah.
Was that the impetus then for your move to the UK?
Well, when I was there, that was the time I had a scholarship.
Okay.
I had a scholarship to Ireland for the first time.
Right.
Yeah. So I had a scholarship to Ireland for the first time, because the programs that I was doing was very much connected to the University of Galway, the ones that they are doing. I look at their programs and I look at what I was doing. I said, this is exactly what I was doing. I just need the qualification in it.
It makes sense.
Yeah. So I went to Ireland. So when I came from Ireland, I went back to Gambia, and then there was this opportunity for master's degree.
Okay.
Yeah. So when the opportunity for master's degree arrived, so I said, so where am I going with this? Am I going back to Ireland, or am I going to the UK? Yeah, but a lot of people are saying UK is more prestigious, is universities rankings are this and that. So I got prospectus from different people. I looked at it. I said, okay, so I'm going to apply for these 3 universities. That is Leeds Hallam University,
Yes.
and also London School of Tropical Medicine and Southampton University. So I applied them. I was fortunate to have acceptance from all of them to come and do my master's degree. Yeah. So I look at the programs that Southampton was offering. It was really good. And both 3 of them met the thing that I really want to do.
Yeah.
So the next step for me is, where would be best to stay?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be in London. I was told that London is very crowded, and London is, you get lost. And I don't want to get lost. And I also, because I'm coming from a place where it's very, population is not big, and it's
smaller than the city. Yes.
Smaller than the city. So I don't really want to go to London. I like the name Sheffield Hallam University. I really like the name, but I was thought, where actually is that located?
Yeah.
So I started looking at the maps, which is one of my biggest weaknesses. I'll come to that. Reason why I'm saying looking at map is a problem for me, and people from Africa generally. But then I ended up settling with Southampton, because they are saying there is a diversity, there are black people, there are this, there are that. So the selling of, when you come, you settle down, you this, it sounds, maybe this is where I should be. Yeah, so that was one of the reasons I chose to come to Southampton.
Right.
Yeah.
See, it makes sense. So,
Yeah.
gosh, and so you came for your
master's degree.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I came for my master's degree in Southampton, with the hope that when I finish my master's degrees, I'll go back to Gambia.
Right.
Because those days, that's what everybody says. You do your degree, you go back to Ministry of Health. You are promoted to the Director of Health or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was the plan.
The plan.
Yeah, because I was moved from where I was to Ministry of Health, the headquarters. I was working at National AIDS Control Program as one of the senior members of National AIDS Control Program. So when I came here, so the next step for me is to become the manager or the director. Anyway,
Right.
Yeah. So in fact, the interesting bit is when I was coming here, I didn't realize that I had to make arrangements for where I was going to stay when I come. The very first night, that skipped my mind. So I thought the university would be there waiting for me. When I came, they would just put me where I should go. But it didn't work like that.
Right.
So when I came, no one received me because I arrived here at night, and I had just £10 with me. 10, I cannot remember how much with me. So I needed to find a place to sleep. I don't know who to talk to. I had no contact except the university. And it was night time. There was no way that the university will respond to my emails.
And is that the University of Southampton?
Yes.
So how did you get here? Was it
flight?
Your flight?
Yeah, I came by flight. So Heathrow to Southampton by a coach. So when I got here, What I should have done is to arrange someone to pick me up, to take me to where I should sleep. But I didn't make any arrangement with the University of Southampton for my accommodation. They were hoping that I had privately arranged accommodation. So at the train station, at the coach station, is when somebody gave me 50p to make a phone call, or to find because somebody told me that you have to go to one of the B&Bs. I didn't know what it meant. Yeah, and I used my £10 taxi to take me to the B&B. So I went there with no food, obviously. So I went there. I told B&B, I was supposed to go to the university the following day. So I spent the night there. The following day, I went to the university. They said they are going to make an arrangement for me to go to schools, halls of residence. Right. The trouble I had was, before I left the place, which is Polygon now, one of the B&Bs in Polygon, I had to pay. I didn't have the money. So the following day, I think I was there for 2 days. So the university eventually gave me some money to pay Polygon and move to halls of residence. Yeah, so that was a nightmare, because when I got out of the coach is when I realized, what did I do to myself?
And what time of year was it?
Yeah, well, it was cold. It was extremely cold. It was cold. It was in November.
All right.
It was in November. That was
winter time.
The worst time to come that here. Even though I prepared, put all those things on, I was still shaking. Still cold. It was too cold for me. So that was my first day. Wow. So I always tell that story to my kids. I said, my first day in Southampton, I didn't know anybody. So, it was a nightmare coming to a place you know nobody, and also you did not even know where to go. So that was the first night.
What were your initial impressions of Southampton?
Well, before coming to Southampton, before coming to the UK, what we see on TV was heaven, paradise. It's unbelievable. What I was so excited that I was going to this paradise for my education and come back to my country to develop my country. When I got to the airport and then I got into... God. Yeah. When I got to the airport and I got in the coach, and I was driving, and I was passing places. I was just, in my head, was like, is this UK? Is this London? Is this that? I was asking myself all along until I got to Southampton, the same questions. I didn't know, because I didn't know the people that I was sitting next to. I would have asked them if I knew them. But in my head, I was asking those questions. So where exactly is the UK? So that was my problem. And when I got to Southampton, it's just, I didn't understand. So my first impression about UK was like, oh, gosh, what did I do to myself? Where am I? I thought the impression, because I have already got a preconceived mind about where I was going. I could see the paradise, the beauties, the skyscrapers, the waters.
I see what you're saying.
The beauty, it's unbelievable beauty that I was, expecting to see. And then when I got there, what I saw was not the beauty that I dreamt of, was not the paradise I thought about. So everything was mixed up in my head.
Got you.
Yes. So I was disappointed, to be honest. I was disappointed in terms of what I was expected to see and what I saw. Okay. I was disappointed. And also the people are not as friendly as I thought they would be. Because when I was in Ireland, where I was a year before, the Irish people were so friendly, so nice. It's unbelievably nice. They will call you, they will ask you questions, they will say, do you need any help? But when I was coming, everybody was busy with their newspapers.
Yes.
You'll even if you want to pass someone, they will just pull their legs and then you pass. No, even if you say hello or good morning, no one cares. So that was really scary.
And that probably is what you call a culture shock.
Yeah, exactly. That's the culture shock. Yeah. So no one seems to care about, So that was a massive problem. That was my first impression of the UK, and my first impression of the university as well. To be honest, university buildings are big and stuff. What I thought I would be welcomed, how I thought I would be welcomed, and how I was welcomed was different. Because in Gambia, like, Caribbean or African countries, people will welcome you with smiles, and they will introduce you who they are, and they will say what you want to do, every fun joke and stuff like that. No, these people are just very serious about my documents, your this, your that, this, that, the papers, map is here. If you want to go to lectures, you take the map, and Gambia, I don't need maps. I never read maps. So how can I find myself around the university, these big buildings? It's impossible. It was impossible. The shops, you have got maps about shops. How can I get there? It's just impossible. It was just impossible. So everything is about map, it's about this, about that. And also in terms of the place itself where you have lectures, where you are living, schools, halls of residence, they've got these fire alarms. Gambia, we never had fire alarms. Right. We don't know about fire alarms. Yeah, fire alarms, and then there will be alarm testing and things like that. I don't know about that. I've never done it. So what does that actually mean? They expect you when there's fire alarm to go out assembly point. What are you talking about? So there was a lot that I needed to unpack.
And so it's almost like an orientation that you didn't have, that you could have done with.
Yeah. Well, for them, there is orientation because there are paperwork, there are everything in the parks.
Yes.
So that's orientation for them.
Yes.
But as far as I'm concerned, I need a different kind of orientation to use the toilets. I was lucky. I was in Ireland before. So the toilets that they are there, I was already used to that. But if someone come from a village, Gambia, and came to the UK, came to the university, they would not know how to use those flush toilets because they've never used them before. Those are all learning points for me at just the initial stage of me coming to Southampton.
Tell us, what are your most vivid memories of home?
Well, I've been going and coming, so different memories at different times.
Yes.
Yeah, because the first time, like I said, when I did my master's first, I came to do my master's first, I missed the fact that, when we finish work, we all come together, sit, brew attire, brew tea, go and play football, go to cinema together, and in the evening we'll sit down with kids. Grandparents will be telling the stories about the stories, lessons learned for children to behave in certain ways, and also weekends, there are like these drumming activities going on here, and musical stuff going on here. So everything that's beauty, that builds the community, that entertainment, that enjoyment, it's just like you are picked from here and you are dropped into somewhere else that there is nothing that's connected to what you experience. So those vivid memories stayed with me for a long time when I was there. And in fact, those are some of the reasons why my wife, in the end, had to go back to Gambia because she couldn't cope. Because she felt like she was isolated, she was lonely. Because she came and joined me, she felt isolated and lonely. When I go to university, before I come, she will be sitting outside crying. I asked, why are you crying? She said, I went to city center looking for Africans. I couldn't find anyone. So no one wants to talk to me. They are all with their newspapers and things like that. She would come and actually sit there crying. So in the end, she said she wanted to go home. She wanted to go home. So when she had my baby, my first baby, I had to leave her to go home. Wow. She went home and I went and joined her. So the vivid memory is definitely different stages, different times. But that one, for the first time, that was really, really important for me.
And would you say those vivid memories are your last memories of home? Would you say that?
No, I wouldn't say that because I go home regularly. Like this year, for instance, for even this year, I went home. So I went home, because some of the lessons that I learned here, some of the skills that I learned here, I wanted to use those at home to help ladies grow themselves, develop them and empower them. So I went home to set up a women's group that's 300 women.
Okay.
Just to empower them, to help them set up business.
Right.
A business that at the end of the year, they can, the profit, they will be able to share the profit. So we opened a big supermarket there with those 300 ladies, their investment, and some investment from me, to support them to make that happen. So I go there regularly, and my children go there regularly because we want them to learn more about the culture. Right now, my daughter, 5-year daughter, is there for almost a year now with grandma, learning more.
Tell me a little bit about who supported you in the early days when you arrived in Southampton.
That is really important, because my journey in Southampton itself, changed over time.
Yes.
Yeah. So when I arrived here, newly, like I said, we didn't have anyone. We didn't know anyone. I started me personally at the university level because my wife was crying, so I started searching for Gambians, people who come from Gambia.
Right.
Eventually, over a year, I managed to find a few people. The university helped me in that search. University Student Union helped me in the search for Gambians. So we found the first one Gambian that graduated from the university. So I found that. And then with that, I found another 2 other Gambians. And then a year later, few people came from London to come and join us. So when they come and join us, so I decided, I had a conversation with them, say, is it possible for us to set up a group called Gambia Association? And that's how Gambia Association was set up before Tuva was set up. But during that time, I know a few people here, Ali Beg, when I moved from the university halls of residence, their houses where I was. So they were a bit helpful for me, our parents. And then we had, when I started working, we had Gil Ganuni, who was also helpful for me, and I started, knowing Kelly. So connections are coming gradually.
Yes.
But Gambia Society was the beginning of everything, because that's where a few of us, and then it started expanding. We started coming together, sharing cultures, talking about Gambia more, and settling down. But with all those days, we are also saying that we are going back. We are going back home. So no one was thinking of staying here. Every single person wanted to go back home. So with that, we decided to have community programs, reflection of what we used to do in Gambia and things like that. So that's where everything started for me. Immediately from university, these things are set up.
Describe your early experience when you came to Southampton and the UK. What was the food like?
Yes.
The university. Give us a bit more understanding about that. And then the jobs.
Yeah.
Work.
The university was like, because when they advertised this, they talk about Africans, they've got Asians. I saw a few Asians at the university at the time. But a few black people I saw were British black. I talked to them, they didn't want to talk to me. I really tried hard because, I wanted to talk to them, to make friends, but they were not interested. Maybe they don't even understand my accent.
When you spoke like this.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Or you didn't speak in your Gambian.
Yeah, well, I always speak like this.
Absolutely.
So, I didn't understand why they didn't want to talk to me. I was really frustrated with that. They didn't want to talk to me because I wanted to bring that community at the university level, halls of residence level.
Yes.
And in terms of food, I struggle a lot. In fact, well before my wife comes, because I was never a good cook. And I tried. Anytime I bring rice, I wanted to cook something, it turns into something else. and that time, I did not even know where the local shops are. I didn't know where the International was. I didn't know where Global was there.
Right.
I didn't know any of those shops. So I just go to Asda, or there was another shop. I cannot remember the names of the shop. They are moved on, I think. I go there and I buy whatever is there. So I try to avoid meat because I know I should eat halal meat.
Yeah.
But because I know these ones are not halal meat, and I don't know where halal meats are, so I don't eat meat. I only eat fish or seafood, all the seafood.
Oh, I see.
In the end, I was really tired of eating seafood. I was eating apple sometimes at the whole day. All I'll be eating is apple, orange, because I didn't know what to eat. I was very skinny because there wasn't food.
On an apple diet.
Yeah, apple diet. Yeah, exactly. Until my wife joined me. When my wife joined me, she became a little bit creative in terms of cooking. But when we started having Gambia Association and others, so that's the time people say, "Oh, there is a shop there in Portswood. That's a halal shop. That's sells this." I said, "Are you sure?" So they took me there. And that was the first time I was introduced. But before that, I really suffered because I was eating exactly the same food all the time. In the end, I had no appetite of anything. Yes. Apples, I would chew apple until my teeth cannot chew anymore. So that was really terrible experiences. So in terms of university, because I came from a country where the culture is different. Like for instance, I was expected to stand still, and I was not expected to have eye contact in Gambia because I did several presentations before coming here.
Oh, I see.
So eye contact and moving your hands sometimes can be considered as rudeness when you are doing presentations, when you are doing certain things. I have been trying, to adapt to the UK way of presentation with eye contact, I struggle day one because I struggled in Ireland when I went to Ireland to do it. So I tried. That was the first time I was told that I have to have eye contact and use my body. So when I came to UK, I still struggled because I wasn't used to it. I still felt like it's rude to get into people's eyes, eye contact and stuff. So at the university, they didn't realize that. They didn't understand why I will do presentations and I try to avoid people's eyes. And I'll do presentations not using my hands. They really struggle to understand that. And anytime I do presentation, when I finish, people they look at me like that. What is happening here? Because there's no eye contact and no body languages. It's just like somebody still standing talking, and it's just was incredible. They couldn't understand. Yeah. So I had to explain to friends. Well, I didn't have friends there anyway. I had to explain to my classmates, mainly professors, and that this is a culture. I'm doing my best, to be able to do presentation the way you want it to be done. Mm-hmm. But it's something that I have to learn gradually. And because in my class, I also struggle in terms of sitting with people, because whoever I sat with, they want to sit with somebody else. So I ended up sitting alone most of the time because they want to sit with people that they are comfortable with. So a lot of people in the class at that time were not comfortable with me. I was the only black. And I was the only male. No, there's two male, one white man, and myself. The rest were women, so they weren't comfortable sitting with me. So I felt isolated most of the time. And if there is a group work of two, normally I do it alone because there's no one there that will do work with me. So I had to prove myself beyond doubt to be able to have a partner. So when the first semester was finished, I got A in all my assignments. Everything that I got is A. So when the results came, that's the time people started being partners with me, because they know this guy is not a liability. I started having partners, but still there is no friendship. I didn't have any friend, at all. The work is just work, and then that's it. Yeah. So I struggle with that.
So pretty challenging would be a right term.
Yeah, it was very challenging. Yeah. It was really, really challenging. It was very challenging because I felt like. And there are things language that we use, they are not using. I'll give you an example. In Gambia, it's very common to tell you, you have to do this. To tell people you have to do that. It's normal. You have to do that does not mean you must do it in Gambia. Yeah. But here it means you must do it. So when I came, when do something, I'll tell people, you have to do that. He said, no, I don't have to. I get confused. You cannot tell me to do it. I said, no, I'm not telling you. I'm just suggesting. He said, no, you're not suggesting. You're telling me I must do it. I said, no. Yeah. So those things, are things that, even now when I go to Gambia, people will still say, you have to do this. I say, okay, you can say it here, but in England, you're not allowed to say this. Yeah. Because people see that, that's the way we express ourselves in different ways. There are a lot of them. You
mean people here take it too assertively?
Yes, yeah. And also to say thank you, for instance.
Yes.
Yeah. When should you say thank you? And when in relationship should you say thank you? It's very different sometimes.
So how you would say it.
Yeah, how would you say it? Like if I say to you, can I have some water, please? Okay. Some people say, can I have some water? Even before you get water, they'll say thank you. No. Gambia, you have to give the water first.
Before you
say thank you.
Right.
So here, when I came, all that first time to understand when to say thank you, I get confused because I want to say thank you, but I want to say thank you only if you have done the activity.
Absolutely.
And before you realize that people say, this one is rude, they don't say thank you. No, it's not. Yeah. It's because you have to do the activity. That's the culture I came from before you're able to say thank you. Yeah. So there were a lot of things that I really had to learn to be able to fit in the community that I am now. So there was it's a lot of challenges. There's no one there who is going to tell you. You have to discover it yourself. That's the challenge. That's the problem. The challenges were still there because when I came, I had scholarship to do the masters. So when I came, then the funding to do the masters, they said I remember I received an email from Gambia saying that they can only pay the first term and my accommodation. So I have to find scholarship or something to be able to pay the other terms, the second and the third, and up to the end of them. That nearly broke me down because I didn't know what to do. So I had to search for work.
Right.
immediately, because otherwise, I'll drop out. So I started searching for work, and that was a massive challenge for the first time. When I send application, people always call me for interview, but when they look at me, they said, "Oh." So I couldn't. I remembered Matalan. It was a very good example. I'll give Matalan because that one was really shocking for me personally. I applied for cashier, just to cashier, and I went. They called me for interviews. I went to interviews, and the lady said, "Why are you here?" I said, "I'm here for interview. I was called for an interview." He said, "No, we didn't call you for interview." I said, "Yes, of course you called me for interview." I said, "Check your records." He said, "Oh, okay." She checked, she showed it there. Said, "Okay, are you interested in warehouse job or cleaning?" I said, "But I come for cashier interview." She said, "No, we can't give that to you. So if you are interested in warehouse or cleaning, apply that." I said, "No, I came for cashier job." He said, "No, you don't understand what I'm saying. We can't give you the job." I said, "Why?" He says, "Somebody already has taken it." And I was called for an interview. So they didn't want me to be there, the cashier, the front line, to be able to do anything. So they wanted me to do the cleaning or warehouse. I was angry and I went home. So I didn't get job. So I ended up doing some care work and also working with homeless people, which was really, really good because I learned a lot more in terms of language, in terms of cultures, in terms of interactions with people. I think that was really, really good. Those are terrible experiences that I had. So I had to find a way to pay the money. This is why when I graduated, even though I was lucky to have all the A's, all my subjects A+ throughout my courses, and also the university said, "Oh, we are going to give you a scholarship to do PhD." I thought they were joking, but they did later. I struggled with my master's because I had to work hard, and then my wife was there. I remember my wife was there, and we are expecting our first baby. My wife was pregnant, so and all these social pressures and other things that were going on, it was unreal. It was unreal. It was challenging.
Well, tell us something that makes you laugh when you think about those early days.
Well,
let's get the contrast.
Well, when I think about the past, what makes me laugh is my wife crying.
It makes you laugh. I hope she's not listening.
My wife, I said, "I cannot believe that you were crying." And we all crack into laughter. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But also the fact that I went for an interviews. Yeah. And then I was asked to do a cleaning. Initially, it hurt me, but now I look back and say it, and I just laugh. I said, it's just lack of understanding. Completely lack of understanding. So those are some of the stuff that makes me laugh. To be honest, because those days were so challenging. It's very difficult to find something that was positive at the time.
Yeah. And Abdullah, since you arrived in the city, has much changed here in Southampton and with you?
Yes. With me, it has changed a lot. Southampton City has actually changed, to be honest. The buildings, I remembered so many stuff in terms of buildings, like city, cultural quarters. Cultural quarters used to have shopping centers. Like I remembered very well where we have Hansard Gallery and where we have studio, Mayflower studio.
Yes.
And all those buildings were part of shopping center, and they became dilapidated buildings in there. Those ones have really, taken shape, changed. But also in our communities here, where we have got this hotel at the junction here.
Yes.
I remember there used to be a space there, and then we used to have car park underground car park, and these student halls almost opposite this there. We used to be a green space for us,
yes.
And we used to say that this green space, council will help us do this, do that. I remember when we protested, the council was going to take it from us. All those things had to happen. And also, when I came, I think there were a few shops in Northern Shopping Centre. Around that area, they used to have a few shops there that were still operational. And those shops were all gone, closed completely. And what else? I think a lot has changed, to be honest with you. A lot has changed in the city over time. Because I think it's because we're having more and more students coming, and they need more and more accommodations in the area.
Yes.
And one of the biggest changes for me is across the city is the youth hubs, youth centers,
Yes.
and youth centers, soul stars and stuff like that. They were all operation, and young people used to have places to go. I remember that I used to drop by, you know, some of those places, and they were all gone. You know, they were all gone. Some of them have turned into something, and some of them, we are lucky that YMCA has taken over this one, even though it's not to the same level where when council was operating it, but they were all changed. They were all gone. And also the mixture of people. We used to have a few black people around. Now, wherever I go to, every corner, I have got black people. You know, we've got Tuva, for instance. You know, now we have got different associations coming together, having fun activities together. And Kelly also has changed stuff a lot in the city. I think I came almost the same time with Kelly. Kelly came a year earlier. So yeah, he has been doing a lot of cultural stuff. You know, this radio station is now here.
Yes.
He was here before. A lot has changed over the years. And with me personally, I've grown with Southampton. You know, the things were changing. I was changing. I was learning. I know how to speak to people better. I know how to interact with people more. I know Asian communities. I've got lots of friends in Asian community, Afghan community, you know, African community. I've got friends, and we involve in lots of event plannings with different groups, different community groups. We link up with the council and other organizations better. Council, NHS, other organizations were seen as very independent from the community. When I came here, they were seen like an entity out there, has nothing to do with us.
Yes.
But now that has been changing a lot. We have got a lot of network events, network activities where different professionals from different organizations learn from each other, and also they work closely with communities. So that's happening now. That was not the case before. Yeah.
And would you say the impact? What would you say the impact of those changes are?
Yeah, the impact of those changes is two ways, obviously, because we know the political climate has changed. And the political climate changing also has impacted on not only relationships, but on so many stuff.
Yes.
You know, because we talked about youth centers gone. We talk about soul stars gone. It's because the political parties have different priority areas. Different political parties have different priority areas. So for me, that has negative impact on young people. I remember when my son, I used to take him to youth clubs. Now those youth clubs they are not there. So where do they go? We have seen a lot of young people that their parents could not afford them to pay for certain activities to engage with. Those people are standing on the streets, and some of them are dealing drugs because they're idle. They don't know where to go. They have no advice. They have no role models. So because those youth facilities are gone, so those have become a major problem for young people. So that is the negative aspect of things. But in terms of infrastructure, we can see the changes in infrastructure, which is a positive one.
Yes.
Like we have seen these big hotels are opening in the city, you know, creating more jobs for people because our population is expanding, and we know refugees are coming to our city more than any other city. So we need those infrastructures in there to be able to compensate, some of those things that are happening. And the same thing applies to schools. You know, we need our schools still now. We need more schools in the area because we've got more population now. More people are coming to the city. You know, those expansions are really necessary. Even though in terms of us, we still complaining because our green spaces have been taken away from us and the buildings have been built on those spaces. So it has both positive and negative impact. Right. It depends on where your priority lies. Yeah. For me, youth service is a massive priority. Can you describe the happiest memories about the city since you arrived? I know, well, now if we're talking about the memories now memories is brilliant, because for me personally, it's brilliant now that not only that I'm the chair of the Tuva, that means I have to learn a lot about Ghanaian culture. I have to learn about Nigerian culture, Zimbabwean culture,
Yes.
their music, their things that they do.
Fantastic.
So we as a community now, that was not there before. So that's a massive memory for me. If I am to leave Southampton now, for instance, and then anyone tells me, oh, tell me about Southampton, I say, oh God, the best place to go. Southampton is the best place to go because you will mix with Caribbeans, you will mix with Ghanaians, you will mix with Gambians, you will mix with Asians, you will mix with everybody, and the culture is rich. The culture is rich, is to celebrate every year. In fact, Southampton is one of the best places where you celebrate cultures every single year, several times. Not once, several times. Whichever direction you take, you'll find one culture or the other, or a combination of cultures celebrating.
Absolutely.
So Southampton is a cultural city. And in fact, this is why when we had a UK City of Culture thing, I became an ambassador because I strongly believe Southampton is a city of culture. I strongly believe that over the years, I was involved in so many things that if I were not involved in those things, I would not have embraced the city the way I embrace it today. So it's a city full of life. Like Kelly will say, it's the best city in the world. Yeah. So we've got that. But we've also got connections. It's one of the most connected cities now than ever. Because when I came in, I was isolated. But now, when I walk on the streets, I can speak to 25 people before I get to the council. And those 25 people, I bet 5 or 6 of them would be from different cultures.
Yes.
That shows the connection that is in the city between us.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And that is not because I work at the council. It's because I went through the journey. I learned the language, like you said. I learned the culture. I learned how to connect with people. And we have been celebrating those for decades now. And that is the strength of the city right now.
Wonderful. It is absolutely wonderful. I tell you, it's an amazing story you tell. If, Abdullah, you could speak to yourself arriving in those early days, what would you say you needed to know about Southampton?
What I needed to know about Southampton first at that time, one is, where am I going to eat food? Where can I get the food?
Let's take a note of that.
Yeah.
Yes. Food places.
Yeah. Yes. Food places I must know. And also I must know the mosques because I didn't know about places of worship.
Right.
And I struggled with that for a very, very long time.
Yes.
And I also want to know which community groups are here that I can connect with easily, and enjoy, I want to know those community groups. And I also want to know who can help me get a job. And not to go to interview telling me that, well, this job doesn't belong to you. You are a black guy from Africa. And I also need to know that maps is a problem for me. I need to know how I can maneuver the city. How can I go in the city easily, find places for myself?
Yes.
Without taking a map. Because I really still now I don't get maps. Good for me now because we got this navigation stuff. I just put in navigation, I hold it. Yeah. It takes me around. But before there wasn't any navigation because mobile phones don't even have internet that time. Yeah.
You had to use the street map.
Yeah, exactly, street map.
Yeah, and map of Hampshire, map of Southampton. Yeah.
I still don't know how to read them. And I would have loved to know people like Kelly and you and others. Where can I find those people that can make you feel comfortable, feel at home? From day one, people, if they feel at home, they excel in everything, because that's some of the problems that a lot of people, and this is why Tuva was important for us. Because when we have Tuva, anyone who come from Nigeria, from the universities, we connect with them straight away. They tell you, oh, can you get in touch with Abdullah? Get in touch with me. I'll connect you with Nigerian Association. And then you book an appointment, meet someone, they take you around. They embrace, they put in, when you come from Gambia, we just take you to Gambia. Ghana, we take you to Ghana. Kenya, just to make sure that you don't feel isolated, you don't feel lonely.
And what you're saying is you absolutely cover all the questions you would have had. So interestingly, what you're saying is setting up of Tuva now covers where the food places
Yes,
are, where
yes.
the worship places are, where the community. So it's a real personal thing for you, Abdullah, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. It's a personal thing because I felt like what I experienced, like I told Kelly and others, what I experienced when I came here, I don't want people to experience the same thing.
Absolutely.
You know, if I can't do anything to stop them experiencing that and they feel at home the very first day they arrive here, that will be my dream. And that's what we are trying to achieve as much as possible.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Do you have any memorabilias from the Gambia that we could use in the exhibition?
Yes. I've got shirts. I've got fabrics, Gambian fabrics that
Wonderful.
you can use. Yeah, definitely. I love that.
It sounds good.
Yeah.
Look, this is our time.
Yeah.
We were joined by Dr. Abdulie Sanneh, who is currently the Community Cohesion and Diversity Officer at Southampton City Council and the chair of the United Voice of African Associations, TUVA, in Southampton. Thank you, Dr. Abdulie Sanneh, for joining us
Thank you.
here today.
Thank you.